Okay, so when you picture an American survivalist, what comes to mind? Probably someone hoarding beans and bullets in some remote bunker, right? Just kind of waiting for the world to end? But, you know, that's really just a caricature. It totally misses the real story. And trust me, the real story is way more interesting. I mean, you can almost see them as this classic American frontier myth, just updated for our pretty anxious age. But their biggest secret? It's not a stockpile of weapons. It's not a stash of gold. So what are they hiding out there in that vast American landscape? Well, the secret, this lost treasure we're talking about, is the wilderness itself. But, and this is key, this is not the wilderness you see on a postcard. For survivalists, it's a refuge, it's a fortress. And maybe, just maybe, it's a future home. So let's dive into that first idea, the wilderness as a fortress. To really get how we got here, we need to look at how the wilderness went from being something to be, conquered, into a place you actually run to for safety. This timeline really shows this incredible shift in who people trust. Back in the shadow of the Cold War, there was this slow erosion of faith in official programs. The central question started changing from how will the government protect us to something way more radical. How do we protect ourselves? And that question, well, that's what gave birth to the modern survivalist movement. So, the crucial point here is this isn't about romanticizing nature. Not at all. For a survivalist, the wilderness is a strategic asset. It's not some beautiful Eden, it's the Ark. It's the one thing that might just keep you afloat when the flood of societal collapse finally hits. And this slide, this is what that strategic mindset looks like in practice. Nature gets completely militarized. Every hill, every forest, it's all assessed for its tactical value. That remote cabin isn't just a quiet getaway. Nope, it's a fortified position. Some of these places are even based on 17th century fortification designs, just updated for our modern fears. But here's where things get really interesting. The people who think this way are changing. That old stereotype of the lone wolf out in the woods, that's being replaced by a much more diverse and, frankly, more complex picture. So within this whole world, you can kind of see two main schools of thought. You've got the old school, and they're afraid of a total civilization-ending collapse. For them, the wilderness is the final destination. But then you have the new school, who we often call preppers. They're more worried about localized disasters, and for them, the wilderness isn't the destination, it's the route you take to get to safety. And this new school? Well, it's absolutely exploding. The number of Americans who identify as preppers has doubled just since 2017. It's now at an estimated 20 million people. Let that sink in. This is definitely not a fringe movement anymore. So who are these 20 million people? Well, this massive growth is coming from some pretty unexpected places. Morgan's surprise at a prepper show in Colorado really highlights a huge demographic shift. It's getting younger, more urban, and way more diverse than it ever used to be. And voices like councils really explain why. I mean, think about it. Recent events have made the abstract fears of survivalists feel very, very real to millions of people. Empty shelves, social turmoil, all of it has pushed this idea of self-reliance from the fringe right into the mainstream. So how exactly did this happen? How did a mindset once seen as so out there become a mainstream topic of conversation? Well, first, we have to acknowledge the movement's darker history. Events like Ruby Ridge and the hunt for Eric Rudolph really cemented this link in the public mind between survivalism and violent anti-government extremism. The wilderness became this kind of sovereign territory, a place to declare your independence from society. But then, a series of very real, very recent crises just changed everything. The pandemic made supply chain issues a household conversation. Extreme weather events suddenly made basic preparedness feel like just common sense. And intense political polarization made the threat of civil unrest feel plausible to millions. And here's the crucial point. The language and the logic of prepping have totally escaped the bunker. These ideas now shape how we talk about everything, from climate change to political stability. The survivalist's private backup plan has become a public, national conversation. Which brings us right back to our central idea. This lost treasure, it isn't a physical thing at all. It's actually something much, much more profound. The real treasure, then, is a mindset. It's the capacity to really, truly imagine a future where the systems we all rely on, power, food, government just aren't there anymore. It's the ability to see the world not just as it is, but as it might become if everything falls apart. And when you really break it down, this worldview has all the structural features of an apocalyptic religion. Think about it. There are prophecies of collapse. You've got a chosen elect who are prepared. There's a coming ordeal or tribulation. And finally, there's a promised land where the faithful will be saved, the wilderness retreat. And this really is the ultimate secret. The American wilderness isn't empty. It's inhabited by this sort of hidden nation of the anxious and the prepared. They are out there, right now, practicing for the end of a world that, in their imagination, has already ended many, many times. So this leaves us with a final and pretty difficult question. In preparing for the worst, are these 20 million Americans visionary realists, maybe seeing the world more clearly than the rest of us? Or are they just prisoners of their own fear? That's the real treasure worth uncovering.